Hi, I'm Tom McCullough. Welcome to Algebra Simple and welcome to our first day of class. What we're going to be studying today is the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of numbers. We're going to start with two positive numbers that we're going to add, and a number is assumed to be positive if it does not have a sign in front of it. So a positive number can look like this, or it can look like this. And you already know enough about addition to solve this problem. The answer is positive 10. Now we're going to add two negative numbers. We're going to add negative 5 and negative 3. And the way you do that is you add 5 plus 3, and the answer is going to be negative 8. That is, negative 5 plus negative 3 is negative 8. Now we're going to add a positive and a negative number. Now what we do when we add a positive and negative number is we subtract, and we take the sign of the larger number. Now this seems rather simple. It seems like what you've been doing all your life since the 3rd grade. It seems like, well, that's just simple subtraction. Okay, what if the larger number has the negative sign? Well, it's the same exact process. We take the sign of the larger number. So our answer is not 3. The answer is negative 3. Now in this problem we are going to subtract a negative number. That is to say it is 9 minus 4. So when we subtract a negative number, we turn both negatives into positives, and we have positive 13 for our answer. Now this is how that works. If you have one negative sign in front of a number, the number is negative. If you have two negative signs in front of a number, the number is positive. If you have 3 negative signs in front of a number, the number is negative. If you have 4 negative signs in front of a number, the number is positive. In other words, if you have an odd number of negative signs in front of your number is negative. If you have an even number of negative signs in front of your number, the number is positive. Let me show you another way of looking at it. If you see a bunch of negative signs, you can cross them out 2 at a time. And that number would have been positive. So that's how addition and subtraction works in algebra. Let's see how multiplication and division works. We are going to multiply 4 times negative 6. And a couple of things that you should know about multiplication. There are several terms for multiplication. We can write the word times. We can put an X between two numbers. We can put a dot between two numbers. We can put an asterisk between two numbers. Now usually you don't see an asterisk except on a calculator. Or we can enclose two numbers in parentheses, and if the parentheses are attached to one another like you see here, it means that we are to multiply the numbers inside those parentheses. So we have 4 times negative 6, and that will be negative 24. As you saw, there was one negative in the problem, so the answer will have a negative. Now let's stop for a moment. Why do we have negative numbers? There are a variety of reasons why we have negative numbers. One of the most important is to keep track of information coming in and information going out, usually money. If you go to the bank and you deposit $100, your account will say positive $100. If you take out $6 the next day, it doesn't say 100 plus 6, it says 100 minus 6, or 100 negative 6, $94. And so you're going to be going to your bank, putting in money and taking out money. So the money that you put in has to be positive, and the money that you take out would have to be negative. There are other reasons why you would use negative numbers, and we're not going to go into all the reasons that you would use negative numbers, but the point is that this is not just some mathematical, philosophical nonsense. There are real reasons to have negative numbers. Now, quite often the word opposite is used instead of negative. Opposite means the reverse of the number stated. So the opposite of 4 would be negative 4. The opposite of negative 6 would be positive 6. Now let's try multiplying two negative numbers. Negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. Now another way of saying this is the opposite of 4 times the opposite of 6 is positive 24. Now let's try division with some negative numbers. How about negative 36 divided by 9? Now we can write it like this, or we can write it like this. Now if that looks like a fraction, it is. That's what fractions are. They're essentially a division problem. We'll get into more of that later. But again, we have negative 36 divided by 9, and that would equal negative 4. We had one negative in the problem, therefore our answer will be negative. But what if we divide negative 36 by negative 9? The answer would still be 4, but since we have two negatives, the answer would be positive 4. Now one thing I forgot that's a little vocabulary you should know. The word is integer. An integer is a whole number, a number that is not a fraction. That is to say 1 and 4 are integers. 1 1/2 is not an integer. 9 3/4 is not an integer. So there you go, you got through the whole first lesson. Now the homework problems are on pages 10 and 11, and the answers to those problems are on pages 438.